You are listening to the sounds of the Right On Network.
Hello and welcome to On the Record Jams, brought to you by the Right On Network. I'm AJ.
And I'm Arthur.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 36 of On the Record Jams. And this time, on the record, what are we bringing to the public, Arthur?
We are bringing 1986's Raspberry Beret by Prince and the Revolution.
Prince and the Revolution, yes. And before we jump into that discussion, I want to thank our Patreon subscribers. They went to patreon.com/rightonnetwork, and they're helping with the overhead of this production. That is Alan Wright. He's Bold Outlaw, boldoutlaw.com. He's a Robin Hood enthusiast. Check him out. We have the sound of the Right On Network, DJ Merck, DJ Bandwidth, Delvin Sims. We have the podcrasher himself, Tim Price. Check him out on Avengers, Outcasters, Avengers Under Siege, the Outcasters podcast. Cluck Trent, friend of the Right On Network, Kim Fredakowski. We have Mark Blair. Listen to him on the Checkmate podcast. Checkmate. Paul Hicks over in Australia. You got to love the Paul Hicks. We have Laurel Phillips. You can hear her moderating the Huntress podcast. The Irredeemable Shag at the Fire and Water Podcast Network. There's a lot of things going on there. One of the things, JSA in the 1990s. Just Side of America in the 1990s. The Irredeemable Shag Fire and Water Podcast Network. Justin Steiner, he's Shoot Fly Pie on Substack. Rick from Jeff and Rick Present Unpacking the Power of Power Pack. Chris Pine 1. You can hear Chris Pine and myself on this here feed on 30 Minutes to Get Back, covering the Beatles documentary Get Back, 30 minutes at a time, 30 minutes to get back. Chris Pine 1. Bill Beer of The Bat Pod. April 5K, listen to her on The Manhattan Project, talking about Friends and Seinfeld. April 5K, the great Jordan Holt. And Clinton Robeson of Fan Film Fridays and Coffee and Comics. Thanks a lot, guys, for being Patreon subscribers. Make sure to go to patreon.com/rightonnetwork to be a member and check out the exclusive content. All right, so Arthur, you brought 1986 into the house, and you said that this is from Prince's 7th album?
Yeah, so this is from Around the World in a Day. So to fit you in, this is still the Revolution. This is after like that Dirty Mind controversy period. This is after 1999, Little Red Corvette and all of that. So that was kind of when he was on the uptick, and then he blew it open with Purple Rain, the movie and the album, bringing it together, selling the whatever 13, 14 million copies. And this finds him right after that. Raspberry Beret is the first single from the 7th album, so Around the World in a Day. And it's a lot of things that people think about now, especially in our, hyper analytical music culture now, where it's like, okay, if you have a hit album, how do you manage that follow-up? Do you pull a Michael Jackson? Do you try to just make the biggest, most ridiculous, outrageous thing you could come up with because the thing you just did wasn't big and outrageous enough? Do you go more into a shell of, well, now I'm big, so kind of like we talked about with Weezer, like the city's behind me so I can do whatever I want? Do you do that? Or do you kind of split the middle? Or in a case like Prince with a band, man, he's a guy that has a lot of records sitting around that he started working on that didn't get finished. And he just goes back and starts reworking things. And come to find out, Raspberry Beret is one of these reworked records. And did he rework it? Before, it was more like that punk pop that he was doing in the early 80s. And then he turned it into this. Is it fair to call this trippy?
I would say definitely being exposed to the video first. I would say trippy, yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So, and especially considering it's Prince. And I think another thing especially with our great artists and our big artists and our artists that lived and made a lot of different type of great music, is still people want to condense you, right? They want to hit you with the wiki, the first paragraph of a wiki. Like if you say Prince, people say, well, okay, what do you think about Prince? And some people view him as just the nasty ballads guy. And if he's doing anything other than that, then people are like, I don't want to hear that because he's singing at a normal speed, or, hey, it doesn't sound obviously like he's singing about sex, so I can't put it on my get it on playlist or whatever that I play. So this is not that, but funny enough, because it's Prince, is him singing over this song, and it just happens to be about him undergoing or having his first time, and the whole story around that. So I don't know if I totally got that as a kid, but certainly as a teenager, when I heard it again, it was very obvious because it's good old folksy storytelling, man. Right?
Yes, and speaking of that, like when you were saying, hey, would it be fair to say that this song is trippy? And I think it's trippy on the front end. And then when you're really deep diving and listening to this, I messaged you a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh, man, you know what? I think we get caught up in all of the atmospheric stuff going on with Prince. But when you strip it down, this guy's very Americana. It's very American. This guy is from the Midwest in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this is as American as it gets. And like with some of these lyrics and storytelling, like you were saying, and it gets folksy. And it's saying things like, my boss. So it's like worker versus the boss. Two different mindsets. So like there's a lot of kind of like great American novel type stuff happening here, happening on this album. And then when I look back at Prince's work, that's happening all the time. So yeah, this guy is definitely a backdrop to multiple eras in American music.
Right. He falls into the student of the game world when you dig into him. And that's, you could pick out, I think people talk about this now too, multi-genre. You couldn't easily just say exactly what this is because it's a bunch of different things at once. But Americana is very much the case. And yeah, working class, like I'm Prince now, and I know what people think that means. But here's the first single after the biggest album I ever made. And I'm taking you back to a time when I was just some kid working for somebody else that wasn't all that fond of me. But don't worry, I met a girl because, I am still Prince. I was Prince then, too. And it's like, well, okay, I get it. So even when he's not cool, he's still cool. So it's like, okay, this is really, a great thing to have him do this. So, and again, it's so multiple. There's so many things happening. I think the video is just ultra cool because it's like the trippy aesthetic, but then he's dancing and then he's counting the band off and then he gets to it. And then he goes to tell this story, jump into these lyrics too. Cause, and I really love the count off too. I don't know about you, but I'm a sucker for stuff like that.
Yes. Count offs and hand claps. Most definitely.
So yeah, and then of course on the video, the overbearing dance routine of like, we're not gonna do a lot, but what we're doing, we're gonna be in sync with it, and we're gonna have everybody hitting it. Which again, it's a band thing, and when you listen to Prince talk, and everybody that's ever been in a band with him, he was a relentless, perfectionist type of band leader. Like, you better be good at what you do because we're doing all this stuff, and yeah, I'm over here with these heels on. And yeah, okay, some of the songs that people love me for the most is me talking about, sex stuff. But don't kid yourself. I'm a musician. I'm a professional. I'm good at this. I'm good at it live. I'm good at it in my studio, which, of course, became a whole campus and a home with elevators and a vault and all the things we've heard about Paisley Park. But he's like, yeah, I deserve to be in this because I put the work in. So here I go. I am a band leader. This is my revolution. This is them on the third album. So by now they probably felt like, hey, we're killing it. We're touring. We just literally made a movie off of ourselves. Now let's follow this up. So I was working part-time in a 5 and dime. My boss was Mr. McGee. He told me several times that he didn't like my kind because I was a bit too leisurely. That's a lot of rhyming. Seems that I was busy doing something close to nothing, but different than the day before. That's when I saw her. She walked in through the outdoor. As a kid, being a rule follower, like she walked in through the outdoor, that blew my mind. I was like, how could she do such a thing? But then you get to the chorus, and she wore a raspberry beret, kind you find in a secondhand store. Raspberry beret, and if it was warm, she wouldn't wear much more. That's a lot of information. Raspberry beret, I think I love her. We can stop right there for a minute. Like, this is storytelling, right? Like, this is folksy storytelling. You kind of get a glimpse of where this is probably going, but you're kind of hooked. You're like, okay, so you met this girl. You were at the store goofing off. Your boss isn't in love with you. You're not exactly rich. You're not the greatest thing going, but you're in this store, and here comes this girl, apparently scantily clad with a beret on.
Can we say like how much universe is in just a couple of those couplets, a couple of those lines, and you're setting the scene? And when you're in a situation, this is pre the internet, and you may be in this small town, and this woman walks in and kind of turns you on to stuff like, oh, I've never seen somebody flip it like this before. Huh. Yeah.
Yep. Very good. So he goes on. Built like she was, she had the nerve to ask me if I planned to do any harm. As an adult, this is my favorite line in the whole song. So look at here. I put her on my back of my bike, and we went riding down my old man Johnson's farm. I said, now, overcast days never turned me on, but something about the clouds and her mixed. She wasn't too bright, but I could tell when she kissed me, she knew how to get her kicks.
She turned me on. She's way more experienced than I am.
Yeah, she turned me on. I'm glad to be here. For whatever reason, she's down with me. I put her on the back of my bike. I'm just some dude that works at a store. I'm just going to go to this dude's farm, because old man Johnson isn't going to come back there and to the farm. Like, I'm going to take her over here. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's just telling this story. Like, it's a wild story.
This makes me think when we were talking about Tangled Up in Blue, where like it's a man where the woman is fascinating to him. Like, man, she's pretty cool. Like, it's usually like, hey, I'm the man and you need to be wrapped up in my world, and kind of how do you fit into my schema? And this is a situation where, she has on these clothes where it's like, oh, I don't usually see that. And then, she's not too bright, but she knew what she was doing. Where again, it's like, oh, like I'm fascinated by her. Like, she can turn me on to worlds that I didn't know about yet. So it's just an interesting turn of the power there.
Very much. And it's very much dressed up in what we love on this show, right? I have a crush on this girl records. Like, that's what this is. It's just told in a different way without being really heavy-handed about it. It's just like he's providing the details to say, trust me, I was glad to be there. Very much so for this story. And you could just assume what happens, because I'm Prince, like you have me typecasted. I'm self-aware. I don't even have to tell you what happened in gory detail. You know what happened. You know. And so you get through all the lyrics of the song, and it's like he never just comes right on out and goes out of his way to say it. But you can infer, because he's like, yeah, dude, like she came in the store. I was goofing off. Man, for whatever reason, she couldn't believe that I was into her, which is insane because she was hot. And of course, I put her on back of my bike and I went wherever she would be cool to go. And, this is where we went. And so after the chorus plays again, more storytelling, right? The rain sounds so cool when it hits the barn roof, and the horses wonder who you are. Thunder drowns out what the lightning sees. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I just want to say that I just love those lines there.
Yeah. This is storytelling. Like, it's a lot of detail in a short period of time. It's maybe I'll use a word called efficiency, but he's getting a lot out of it without telling you the gory details of exactly what's happening. But he's like, dude, like, this is my first time. This is kind of like I remember these weird details of this. Like, okay, look, the rain sounds so cool when it hits the barn roof and the horses wonder who you are. Thunder drowns out what the lightning sees and you feel like a movie star. Listen, they say the first time ain't the greatest. But I tell you, if I had a chance to do it all again, I wouldn't change a stroke because, baby, I'm the most what a girl is fine as she was then. Like, dude, I don't know. He's like, dude, I don't know how it went for her, but I'm telling you, it went great for me because she had on raspberry beret, doggone it, and it was the kind you find in a secondhand store, and it's unbelievable. Like, this is great. Like, I know I'm Prince, but trust me, this was amazing. And it's like it's just great. I just love it.
He's writing about the first manic pixie dream girl in pop music. I don't know, but the rain sounds so cool when it hits the barn roof. And that's like very specific, the barn roof. So we're talking about like a specific part of the world, the country, the town. So that's very specific. And the horses wonder who you are. So I'm on this bike and that's independence. Like riding a motorcycle, that's very like independent and freeing. And the horses, they don't wonder who we are, you are. So like anyone that comes in this barn is not unfamiliar folks. So like, hey, I have maybe this rapport with this old man, just like Marty McFly has a rapport with a disgraced scientist who gets fuel from other countries and steal it from them. And then it says, and the horses wonder who you are. Thunder drowns, because thunder makes sounds. Thunder drowns out what the lightning sees, because lightning, that plasma, you can see. So if it's dark and lightning strikes, you can probably see. So I like, it's not that these are opposites, but he's playing around with stuff. He's playing around with the senses. Hearing, seeing. Thunder drowns out what lightning sees. That's just great poetry right there. That's just one line. You feel like a movie star. Listen, they say the first time ain't that great, but but I just, wow, again, because when I was a kid listening to this song, I was an MTV kid, so I would see the video. I didn't know what was going on. I just I'm just listening to the chorus. It's psychedelic stuff going on in the background. So I didn't even follow the storytelling. But again, when you zero in, it's all this Midwest, Middle America type stuff going on here.
Yep. It's all in there, man. And it's like, yep, this is what I went through. And he laments in the vamp out of, like, where are all the raspberry women gone? Like, man, I'd love to meet a lady like that now that I'm, Prince. But, whatever. I'll never forget this time. So it's a hell of a fun story. Like you said, there's poetic writing going on. It's a jam anyway, period. Yeah. And again, his approach of singing it was like borderline bluesy, folksy. Because, the look at hears and the listens and the...
Yeah.
All of that. The before he starts singing at the beginning. Like, it's almost like, hey, I'm about to start this song. I'm just coming off of Purple Rain. I'm going to do this. And I'm not even worried about it because I know it's going to work. Because that's like, I'm at the height of my powers right now. I'm counting off my badass band. And before I start singing, I'm just like, I've let the music ride a little bit. The strings have come in, the and then he just says, yeah. He says, yeah, like, oh yeah, like I know. Like I know what you're thinking. This is jamming, right? But you ain't gonna believe the stuff I'm finna tell you in this one. Like, check this out.
And what's
it's
interesting,
just a cool record.
It's a cool record, and we talk. He's in control. He knows what he's doing. He's crafting stuff. He can arrange things. And on this show, we've talked a lot about, hey, it's someone from Middle America, and they're going to one of these cities, and boom, I'm about to romanticize it. And in this situation, it's like, no, I'm in middle America. And like with Prince, like, hey, you going to move out to LA or New York? No, I'm straight. I'm good. It can happen here. We can have all these fun times here. So again, so that, in our barn. So like that specificity of, hey, we're in Europe and you're exporting your goods and it's about New York, LA, New York, LA. And Prince is like, nah, you know what? I'm going to tell you about in Minnesota. Have you heard this one before? Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to break it down to you of my teenage days in Minnesota and what I was doing. I mean, my boss was Mr. McGee, and he told me several times that he didn't like my kind because I was a bit too leisurely.
And think
like,
about
I'm
that,
not
like,
really into you. Like, I'm letting you work here, but you're not all that good.
And we say Mr. McGee, so it has that context of like he's old, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's a different generation, and then doesn't like my kind. That is totally loaded. Like that line, totally loaded. And like anyone from like that, like a walk of life can kind of walk into that, us versus them, that kind of stuff. So anyone can kind of relate to that, but we keep saying he's saying a lot in a little.
Right. And also, I have a contract with myself to try to get into real situations, whether it be at my home life or my work life. And I go out of my way at least about once every few years to say that somebody was busy doing something close to nothing but different than the day before. Like, I love that because it's like, hey, I'm just like, this guy doesn't like me. I know it. I'm not going to kill myself for him because this isn't motivating to me. But I'll do enough to keep the job. Like, I'm just going to kind of sort of do something that's a little bit different than what I was doing before so that it's not obvious that I'm just biding my time.
So I'm listening to the song Raspberry Beret, and I'm, really zeroing in on it. And it made me realize like how American Prince is, and like this needs to go in the, Great American Novel series, Prince and his career. And I was thinking like, okay, you have, Bob Dylan and Tom Petty, and these lines from John Mellencamp, Little Ditty About Jack and Diane, two American kids growing up in the heartland. Jackie gone to be a football star. Diane's debutante backseat of Jackie's car. Sucking on a chili dog outside the tasty freeze. Diane sitting on Jackie's lap. He's got his hand between her knees. Jackie say, hey, Diane, let's run off behind a shady tree. Dribble off those Bobby Brooks. Let me do what I please. And I was like, okay, if I listen to that, I would immediately go like, oh, okay, this is some middle America storytelling here. But when on the front end of Raspberry Beret, I'm just jamming and being psychedelic. But then when I go stop, okay, let me study the song, let me listen to this. This is happening. So he's doing like, there's several levels to what Prince is doing. He's challenging the genre, pushing the boundaries. There's all this atmospheric stuff going on. And like you said, he's being him, he's being Prince. And then he's saying, don't let the smooth taste fool you. If you strip this down and listen to my songwriting, it's all here. Bam.
Right. Just like, hey, I haven't used the word flex in a while, but it's like a flex. Like, hey, dude, I know I got a lot of window dressing on me. I'm doing a lot of jumping around. I got the wild get-ups. I just made a movie, so clearly I got the streets behind me. I got a record company spending money on me, but don't lose your mind here. I have talent. Me and my band have talent. We can mix it up. We can goof off. We don't even have to take the layup here. We're shooting from the logo. I'm going to do a folksy song about me losing my virginity to some chick that came in the store I was barely working in. Like, that's what I'm doing. And oh, by the way, something else I want to point out. This album didn't have lead-off singles. The album came out, then Raspberry Beret was released as a single.
Ah, okay.
So, like, are you kidding me? In the mid-'80s? Are you out of your mind?
Huh.
No lead single. Just drop the album. Hey, I'm Prince. Remember Purple Rain? That's me. Still here. Well, what's the single? What single? Dude, really, for real, what's the single? Oh, no, just the album comes out. Yeah, the album's coming out in April. Yeah. I'll give y'all a single in a few weeks. What?
I would be on some of that if I were an adult and I was making my own money, or even a teenager making my own money, and I loved Purple Rain, the album. I would have bought the next album on Blind Faith, didn't need any hints. I would have done that.
Yeah, so that's what he was counting on. So these are things that now, I mean, we live in a universe where we're just now back to the point of being glad when an artist does a quote unquote rollout, because it just became such a thing that artists didn't do. But it's not because they were Prince and they had just made Purple Rain. Now it's more of a economics thing, or more of a, hey, I don't want to go millions of dollars in the hole with a record label. Just try to get my album to sell. And also people aren't trying to sell 2, 5, 10 million copies of their album like we've talked about with so many of our artists. Like even when we talked about 38 Spesh a couple episodes ago, the idea is like, no, I'm trying to get my 15,000, 20,000 folks to buy everything that I do. So get the t-shirt, get the t-shirt that says trust on it in some weird font. Come to my shows, buy my vinyls, that type of stuff. Whereas this was a whole different universe, man. This guy was a huge artist, and this is what he's doing. And it's not a surprise that a few years later, him and his label would have issues because he was bucking the system. He was trying to get them to do things in abnormal ways because he was looking at it like, hey, man, I got the music. I got the talent. Like, we don't have to follow rules. And Warner Brothers was like, hey, I kind of want to follow a few of these rules. We're the one putting up the money. You talking about rules. We going to rule you out of getting some of this money. That's what we going to rule.
And also, I'm running the business from, when I first started, from a 1972 point of view. So it's going to take a while for me, or I'm never going to change. You're going to have to wait for me to retire and younger blood comes here to go, oh, yeah, we see what you're saying now.
Of course. And now people are willing to admit that he was right. Number one, everybody doesn't need lead-off singles and pandering before the album. Some people do, or depending on the album or the situation or the context around the album, it makes sense to promote it up front. And some things, the best thing you could do is get the album in people's face, let them listen to it, and then go talk about it. Then promote it. Something that's happening right now, right? J. Cole with his, and you can never believe rappers when they say they're going to retire, by the way. But he says, hey, I'm going to make this album called A Fall Off. Everybody's been knowing about this for 5+ years, that he's going to make this album, and it was allegedly going to be his last thing. Well, he puts the album out, and then like a month later, now you're seeing all these interviews popping up like right around now. Like he sat down with people, and some of it is talking about the stuff, the Drake and the Kendrick stuff. And some of it is just him talking about his album, talking about his state of mind, talking about his alleged retirement. And he's already given himself the alley-oop to say, hey, well, I'm not saying I won't ever make anything else, but I'm not intending to. And it's like, well, okay, rapper. When rappers say that, it's like, shoot, I give you less than 3 years. There might be another J. Cole album. You never know. But I say that to say, like, an artist like Prince bucking the system, having success, and then later on in the 90s when he was doing all this crazy stuff with this thing called the internet and having his own message boards and having music come out online only, which in the mid 90s was like, what are you doing? Now is like, why? Like, if anybody's not doing that, it's a pivot to not do that now. So he was so ahead of the game. I think this album is kind of a rebel yell. The idea was that he was supposed to be the leader of the new school and the punk, funk, pop, punk, whatever you want to call him. He was like a few years younger than Rick James and obviously quite a bit more under control as an earthling. So, and his label had more means to support him through, the first 2 or 3 albums where he wasn't selling that many albums. So he took advantage of it. He became freaking Prince. And Raspberry Beret is kind of the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is one of many good Prince songs that you can wrap your ears around if you get a chance.
Raspberry symbolism primarily centers on themes of love, kindness, fertility, and divine protection, often linked to the heart shape and blood red color of the fruit. Historically, they represent piety and nurturing, while their growth habits symbolize perseverance and the divine feminine. What do you think? What's up with that Raspberry Beret? What is that about, that title?
Would you put it past Prince to do that on purpose? Considering the level of artist that we know him to be? Because again, it's mixing things in. It's mixing genres. It's using certain words for certain reasons. It's rhyme patterns. It's instrument choices. I think we talked about this before. The next album after this is Under the Cherry Moon, or where the movie Under the Cherry Moon.
Black and white.
Yep. And for the album Parade, which, my goodness, if you're an adult and you think you like Prince and you haven't listened to Parade, oh my goodness. But on that album Parade, one of the big hits from that is Kiss. Well, if you remember Kiss, if you go listen to that song, one of the weirdest things about it, again, as an adult listening back, it doesn't have a bass line. And so he took it out. So it had a bass line. He took it out. He was like, nah, man, I'm Prince. I can do whatever I want. Like, I can mix things up. And matter of fact, we should mix things up, because we're never going to be this big of a deal again, probably. Like, he's probably smart enough to know, like, when you get big, what's next is the universe is going to try to pull you down. And you're not, I mean, you sell $13-14 million with a movie. It doesn't matter if you make 2, 3, 5 more movies, you're probably not going to make another movie that hits that same way. We know that now because we've lived enough and we had enough internet beating us down for 30 years talking about all this stuff. But Prince probably knew that too. So he was like, if I'm going out, I'm going to go out the way I want to go out. I'm going to do the things I want to do as an artist. I have this visibility. You're going to let me make another movie for real? Okay. I'm doing it as a period piece, and it's going to all be black and white. And oh, spoiler alert, I'm dying at the end.
I saw Under the Cherry Moon more than I saw Purple Rain.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the summer or the cousins I was with or whatever. It wasn't by grand design. It's just that's how it happened.
Yeah, I could believe it.
It's like what Noriega of what he said. I had 2 kids by 2 different women in the same month. I didn't plan that way, but things occur. But once you're big, right, people are like, okay, this is the guy that made Purple Rain. So there's a good chance that the next 2 or 3 things you make are going to get like by default type of attention. So it makes sense that Around the World in a Day, with no lead single, gets a lot of attention. Raspberry Beret was a hit when he finally did do it as a single. The album after that is, Parade / Under the Cherry Moon. That's got Kiss on it. So everybody's like, what's this guy doing? Then he's done with The Revolution and comes back in 87 with Sign of the Times, which was supposed to be a triple disc, and it ended up being a double disc. But that one that has a door on it, and You Got the Look, and If I Was Your Girlfriend, and there are songs on that album that was supposed to be, I think we talked about this before, where Prince was going to make an album with his voice heavily modulated and call it the Camille album, or it was Camille, the artist was going to be Camille, and it was going to be called the Pink album. We need somebody to clear that up for me. I'm talking off the top of my head, but trust me on this. He had an album allegedly, like artwork made up and everything, where that was the thing. Modulated voice. It was kind of like he was going to be this girl-ish, italics, named Camille.
and he had all these songs written as this person or artist, and Warner Brothers was like, buddy, cut it out. No, we're not doing this with you. You've taken us through enough. We've made 2 movies with you. You're out here releasing singles with no bass lines. We can't be doing this with you. And and we're finding out you fired your band too. Oh yeah, dude. And you want to turn in a 3-album disc after that? No. Cut it to 2. Like, that's all in the few years after Purple Rain. Like, this is this guy, man. So for him to have pulled all this off and to make, so much good music, you gotta have the chops, man, to be able to do all of this, even with the visibility, because it's easy to draw lazy lines, right? You could just say, hey, well, he had Warner Brothers. They put money behind him. Of course he was going to hit. Yeah, there's artists that get money put behind them all the time that don't hit, that you don't look up 40 years later and some dudes are at their house making a podcast talking about songs from it. Like, that doesn't always happen. That's why it's still such a big deal. That's why he's so special.
Yeah. Raspberry Beret. I believe if a woman walked into a store with just a beret on, that would be interesting. And it's raspberry. So again, like you're saying, like everything he's doing is deliberate. When you listen to the song, it sounds effortless, but we know that it isn't. And that's just the craft and the genius of this guy and the talent. Where this seems breezy, but wow, man, like we said, there's a lot of complicated layers going on, but you feel like it's just an easy walk in the park.
Yep. And the band.
Yes. Yeah, everybody knows what they're doing. They're going to do that thing with James Brown where he does a signal like you messed up. He does that signal, $15 off. Can we talk about the cover of this album? Just talk about that, Arthur.
Oh, we're going to talk about the cover. Are you going to call him out directly?
No, I'm not calling him out. Just talk about it.
I mean, man, it's one of these covers where you can tell a lot of stories with it. Like, it's everything. There's a bunch of stuff happening on that cover with him. Some people would say it is very reminiscent, at least in some ways, to Sgt. Pepper. I see it. It's weird that you see all the band members on it. That's wild. But again, it's Prince giving homage to the fact that he's got a band. And I don't really even understand everything that's on it, but you get a diehard Prince person, even beyond the level of me. I'm sure everything on that cover means something. And he's got a song called A Ladder on the album. There's literally a ladder on the album cover, because of course there is. So everything could totally mean something.
And after the Beatles, they opened that door of something like that. How could you avoid, or like this balloon is kind of magical mystery tour like, but how you want to kind of take your crack at, well, this is how I would do it.
Right. If that's even what you're doing, right? And he's got the birds in the sky, which depending on who you ask, I guess they have to be doves, right? Because when doves cry from a couple albums ago, I don't know if that's true or not. And
in the video, we see that blue sky. In the video, we see that blue sky, Raspberry Beret.
Yep. Now, I wonder if the guy in the bottom right corner, something else about this album is, the story goes is that Purple Rain kind of helped bridge a gap between Prince and his dad. And so his dad was around a little bit more, and, let somebody else tell you the full details of what actually got worked on, because his dad was a musician too. But it's crazy to think that could be the case. Do I know that for sure? Again, no, I don't know that for sure, but it might be. But just the fact that you do all of this on a cover, and again, this is after Purple Rain. He doesn't have to do any of this. I mean, the type of, I mean, again, we're in a post-rap world with the mixtapes and all that. Psh, you get the wrong rapper accidentally makes Purple Rain, that next album is gonna be called Purple Rain 2. Guaranteed.
Purple Raining.
Mo Rain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, More Rain and Purple Rain 2, The Reckoning. Also, this cover, it reminds me of the funeral procession by Ellis Wilson that you would see in The Cosby Show.
Oh.
Same kind of art style. So, yeah, I'm looking at this cover, just very interesting. I think this album is very interesting. I'm not Raspberry Beret by no means the imagination is stripped down, but like there's stripped down stuff on here as well. So like Pop Life, dude, hey, Pop Life.
Stadiums, man.
Dude, going on a ride to the mall or wherever with your parents and that playing in the background. Pop Life was getting some mileage, guys.
Yes, it was, man. And that's kind of almost like the most, hey, let me speak for everybody. And Prince was doing that before, right? These social commentary type records, right? Because like you jump into a little bit of that, right? And it's like, hey, what's the matter with your life? Is the poverty bringing you down? Because, he's talked about politicians before and how they make everybody poor. Mm-hmm. But then he goes into another piece. Is the mailman jerking you around? Did he put your $1 million check in someone else's box? You remember Publishing Clearinghouse, right? With Ed McMahon?
Oh, yes, sir.
This is a wink at that. Like, hey, you're sitting around waiting for Ed McMahon to come give you $1 million and it didn't happen yet. Is that like ticking you off? Like, did you think somebody was really coming to save you? Like they keep promising that they're going to do? This is 40 years ago.
Is it more? Yeah, 40 years ago. Oh, man. And the background vocals in that? Oh.
Yeah, man. Wendy and Lisa were in it, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
They were getting it in on there, man. Pop Life is a grand old time, man.
Grand old time, man.
Yeah, and I mean, but even the quote-unquote album cuts, the Ladder, Condition of the Heart, like you say, a lot of that stuff is stripped down. But then in the middle of that, something like a Paisley Park, like a, hey, this is kind of like my mantra. Like I've made Purple Rain now, and this is Paisley Park is almost like the victory lap of like, hey, I've made it now, and this is what I'm going for. Like I'm gonna make the world a better place through my Prince-ness and my music and my imaginary place that's not imaginary because I got so much money now I can create my dream place. And that's literally what his studio is called. And that was his house, his studio. Because he's a musician and a live musician at that, you hear all the stories from artists now of saying like, man, I got to go to Paisley Park, man. And I got to get on the stage because they had a stage. This man had a studio, a vault, a stage, elevators at this house. So this has got to be like a crazy campus, right? Like this is his Neverland, right? But it's like, hey, I'm going to make all the stuff I want in here, which is just music, more music, live music. Of course, I'm assuming some insane studio where he could just sit there and immerse himself in the music and get it going. And music was on the scene, man.
Prince, this Raspberry Beret, making it look easy, storytelling within this song. You got the middle A section where he really goes off in it, or the bridge, and then he gets out of it. Oh, that's a comment I want to make about the Janet Jackson song we did when they went to the middle A section of the bridge. How interesting that was, and then they got out of it. Woo.
Yeah, and just think, like, this is around the same, well, Miss You Much was later on, but just think, Around the World Today, Raspberry Beret, around the same time, this is Janet Jackson Control time. So, like, there's some jamming coming out of Minneapolis, faux show. for this to all be happening at the same time with people who used to be kind of in the same universe with each other. Also, around this time, I wanted to speak on something else, right? Like around this time, this is also when Prince was doing, I keep mentioning that he's making all this music and Warner Brothers is like, dude, cut it out. But the way he got some of that music out is he gave it to other people. He created other bands. The funny thing is, pretty much everybody he dated that he liked, he gave them music too. So Sheila E., Vanity 6, Apollonia 6. Once the stuff with Vanity went bad, the Bangles with Manic Monday. I think I've sent you the Prince version of that. And when you hear him singing it, it's like 100% a Prince song. You're like, how did I not know that as a kid? I'm like, oh crap, I missed it.
And when you hear it, it's like, yeah, good Lord, this is so Prince.
Yes, it's so Prince. But then one of the big ones that I wanted to make sure we brought up was, as one of his side groups, The Family, they made Screams of Passion, which is, my goodness, if you don't know about that song, Screams of Passion is another one of those mid-'80s. Once you know about it, it was everywhere. People played it all the time, and then it just kind of went away because it's like nobody knows who it is. But this was one of Prince's groups. Well, on that one album that they made, they were called The Family, so also very hard to Google. You just type in The Family. You got to put some other words in there with that to get that album. But on that album, the killer ballad is Nothing Compares to You. And it got remade, of course, by Sinead O'Connor like 4 or 5 years later. That's also Prince.
I love it.
Around the same period of time. So this guy was not sitting around chilling. This dude was making too many jams to make himself. He had to start giving away jams.
So, Arthur, we did say that this was a single, and back then when they said single, they meant it, and this was going to come out in a physical form. So one side would be the A side. Can you talk about the B side to Raspberry Beret?
Man, so this is She's Always in My Hair, which is another really grand old time Prince song. And it doesn't sound the same. It's a little bit more glitzy, but it's good, man. And he's singing in a different register. And whenever I feel like giving up, whenever my sunshine turns to rain, whenever my hopes and dreams lead me in the wrong direction, she's always there showing me how much she cares. She's always in my hair. I'm saying that off the top of my head. I don't have words in front of me. I think that's about it. Dude, this is a B-side. It's not on the album. What are you doing? Like, there's people that if they made that song, that would be like their first single, and they would have like a 10-minute video to go with that song. It was just a B-side for him.
Yeah, okay, so, I wasn't old enough to, I'm going to buy my own record. I'll buy my own 45, and then I'll see if I like the B-side or not. So I don't know if it's like, man, did people ignore the B-side? Was it just like, that's just going to be something that they're going to put weird on there, so I'm going to ignore it? But I wonder if this is the lead single, isn't it guaranteed that they're going to hear that song, that B-side?
I guess if you buy the single, but again, think about what we're talking about with this album. He put the album out first, then did the single.
Yeah.
And in that universe, if you're not talking about unlimited money, you're not talking about a streaming service, you're talking, I got to walk in this record store and give up $14 to get around the world in a day. I don't have a problem doing that because it's the follow-up to Prince's Purple Rain. I love Prince. This is Prince's 7th album. Okay, you might walk in there and get that. But are you really going back in there a month later and getting the Raspberry Beret single if you already have the album? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? So that song was kind of like, what we now call a Lucy, right? Because it didn't end up on an album. So I know when Prince started having that online following thing, and his fans really propelled a lot of his work, and there was this starvation for anything Prince. And even when he did greatest hits, he would put some of the Lucy's on there too. And so She's Always in My Hair, I don't think I knew about that song at the time. I knew about it like early 2000s when that starvation for Prince was out, and the online universe was just like, hey, you guys don't get how awesome this guy is. Like, you can't just listen to the albums. You got to get these Lucy's. You got to get this stuff. You start hearing about this vault, this mythical vault that's got, some crazy number of songs that are so jamming that eventually he's going to go back and finish them and put them out. And, who knows if he'll ever get around to doing it, because he kind of doesn't care. And he's got his new stuff he's doing, which, late mid 90s to early 2000, he basically turned into almost like a jazz guy. So it's like because again, it's Prince. He's got the talent. He's like, I can do whatever I want. And if I want to do this other thing, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be, honest about myself as an artist. And if you start yelling at me to make more ballads, I might not make no ballads now because I'm not doing it. And then I think a lot of times his religious stuff that would be happening in his life, he would go through periods of times where, and he really didn't want to be typecast either. So everybody's like, dude, sing the nasty songs, man. And he was like, man, I can't, no, I'm not singing those songs right now. And then he got to a point where he was like, you know what? I can sing these songs. This doesn't change who I am religiously speaking. I made those songs. Those songs came from somewhere real. I meant something when I made those songs. It's not just because y'all use it as just the nasty songs. That's not all I was doing. That's not all that went into making those songs. So I'm going to sing these songs again. And everybody's like, dude, we don't care why. Just sing the songs. So he's it's really wild how his music has gotten multiple different lives during different times. And yeah, She's Always in My Hair, that B-side fell into that. And I think I was telling you before that like D'Angelo and Questlove, not shockingly, are colossal Prince fans. And this post-Purple Rain into Sign of the Times era that we're talking about is kind of maybe not their absolute favorite, but kind of is. That's where you get a lot of the Lucy's. That's where you get a lot of the abandoned projects, the B-sides, all this experimentation with a guy that's got resources to do whatever he wants. And now you're just hearing all these different ideas, some cases not brought to complete fruition in the form of a full album, but just all these badass songs. So like She's Always in My Hair falls into that range.
The Vault.
From the Vault.
What else you have in your notes about this one, Arthur?
Man, I kind of emptied the clip on this thing, man. It's hard to overstate what a great song this is in isolation, even without the context. I also, I'm a sucker for context, and the fact that you would, kind of jump off a bridge after Purple Rain and make this, like, you got to really have some stones to make a folksy, trippy, string-laden song as the follow-up of like, hey, this is my aesthetic when I show up now, coming after this huge, super-duper hit album. So it's a bold record from a bold artist. And bold doesn't always mean risque. Bold doesn't always mean, cussing or being crazy. Sometimes bold is just being about, hey, I'm an artist all the way around. I can make this type of song too. Maybe I can do it as a flex. Sometimes I can do it just as me being honest and saying, hey, as a band, me and my band sat around and this is what we came up with and we think is awesome. And we're not worried about trying to make Purple Rain 2 still raining. we're just gonna do. We're going to give you this because this is where we're at. I reconnected with my dad. I didn't think that would ever happen. And certainly not me making a semi-autographical movie where this guy is basically one of the villains of the movie. I wouldn't have thought this would have brought us close together, but it did. So, yeah, let's go with that.
Wow. Yeah, this is incredible. You listen to this song, Raspberry Beret, and freaking incredible, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Arthur, how can they reach us? Because I guess, let us know your feedback. Like, I want to know your experiences with this artist known as Prince. What's some of your favorite eras? What was the one where it was the album was sold in the kind of crystal ball?
Yeah, the crystal ball. I mean, that was later on where you're dealing with, multiple discs. Another case of him trying to spread his wings, him trying to show the independence, trying to do the things that other artists aren't doing. Something else we didn't talk about a couple years later, even after Sign of the Times and after the Revolution, basically in between the Revolution and the New Power generation, he was kind of like a man with no country, even though obviously he had other people he was working with, but he didn't have them named. So he makes this album called Love Sexy. And the funny thing about that album is when the CD was first, and this is CDs early, like this is late 80s where having a CD was a big deal. And why was it a big deal? Because you could jump around from song to song and listen to what you wanted to listen to. And Prince said, no, the hell you won't. Love Sexy was one doggone track. So the idea was like, you got to listen to this whole thing.
Wow.
That's insane.
That is insane.
And that's how the original pressing of it was out. So it's just another case of, man, this guy is, when he has an idea of what he wants to do, he's taking these chances. He's shooting his shot. He's doing things that could aggravate a fan base, tick a fan base off. Where you hear that at before or now? But like he did it and was successful with it. And some things he had to back off because if you go buy Love Sexy now, obviously with streaming, it's multiple songs. Everything is split up song by song, no shenanigans. But yeah, originally one track. And the album's like 40 minutes or whatever. So it's like, hey, you want to hear something at the end, good luck, buddy.
I like it. Guys, write into us at ontherecordjams@gmail.com because I want to know tell us your story with Raspberry Beret. I want to know about it. Where else can they reach us?
Please do. Yeah, I mean, we're on YouTube, Amazon. We're at On The Record Jams on X. We're at OTRJ on Blue Sky. We're on The Record on Facebook too. So we have a few different places to keep the conversation going. So yeah, please do. I would love to know if the people, when they heard this song, did they really fully understand what it was about, depending on their age, or when they figured out that the song was about what it was about, and how did they react to that?
It was definitely news to me when we covered it on this podcast. And you told me, when we were preparing for the show, I was like, oh, I never even realized that. I was just jamming out. Wow. I kind of insinuate that, like, he was saying something, she has that good stuff with the Raspberry Beret, but I didn't know the details. But yeah, Prince, wow. I mean, I was just talking about him with someone at a late lunch as far as his guitar solo during the George Harrison tribute show, where it was just legendary. And after that madcap solo, he throws his guitar in the air and it never returned.
Yep.
This guy was just steady adding to his mythos, man. It's insane.
And this was quote unquote after the fact, right? And this is, this is something else that people should appreciate with these great artists. Like, and I try to talk about that, man. We have great artists that go through ebbs and flows, whether they have a personal thing going on or whatever they got going on. Now in this era, you mess around, send a tweet somebody don't like or whatever, but it's like, man, but is the music jamming? Did you come out with something that's jamming? Please. Maybe you got over what you were dealing with just enough to concentrate enough to get you some jams together. Like, give me the jams, please. And like, I'll explain this sometime when I'm arguing with friends. I'm like, we got to understand as a public, we don't have a great track record of supporting superstars and supporting great artists, because it's almost like we fall for the okie doke when the business tries to throw them away because they're not making the maximum amount of dollars, or they've already gotten their return on the investment. And now that major artist is just making money. And they're like, hey, this ain't the way the business was set up. We need to swap you out with somebody else. We need somebody that gets in trouble, but we want you to get in trouble before you make a bunch of money off of us. We want to make a bunch of money off of you. And then you go off and do something stupid, then we get rid of you. Like, that's the way that people are hoping in the business, that they're not really ever planning on these artists having whole campuses that take up the whole block somewhere in their hometown. Like, they're not trying to build 10,000 Paisley Parks. That's not what they don't want all these Neverland ranches and all that around. Like, dude, they want you to be like, man, you remember that, you remember that guy? Yeah, he had 2 hits 10 years ago. Like, they want you doing that. So it's just, we got to be careful when people are going too hard to discredit great artists. And I think Prince was around just long enough, even though he died in his 50s. He was around enough and came back around enough times to where he had a chance to, quote unquote, get his flowers. He had a chance to do different things. And like you say, that guitar solo, well, again, he was just the crawling around in his underwear guy in the 80s is because people tried to typecast him. But the reality is that amongst all these other things that he was a hell of a guitar player. And then he had a moment in time to do that. Also, you think about 2007, 2008, when was that? The Super Bowl, where he gets to do the Super Bowl after the period of time where people said, let's make the Super Bowl a big deal. And of course, because he's Prince, he gets to do his Super Bowl and it starts raining.
Ah, yes.
As he's singing Purple Rain, of course.
Legend.
These are major things. And again, these are, when was the Hall of Fame? When was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame performance? I don't know.
I gotta look that one up.
I don't know. But, it had to be like, sheesh, well afterwards, right? Like, this wasn't like 1989.
2004, March 15th.
Yeah. So, yeah. So you think he got a chance to do that, quote unquote, after he was a star, after the whole slave on the face, after the kind of just being on the outs with the industry, being in a spot where people were just kind of saying, oh, you remember that crazy dude, Prince? Man, that dude's crazy. And he got a chance to come back and get that second act. And I hope we can learn from that. And we get some of these artists around here who do actually have talent and have music to give us. And if they give it to us and it's jamming, man, just take the jams. Take the jams. You get a good performance out of these guys, take the performance. Appreciate the performance. Don't talk yourself out of it. Just take it.
And we did. We definitely did.
With him, we did.
Super Bowl performing Purple Rain, the rain. I'll stay out here if you will. And that guitar solo during the George Harrison While My Guitar Gently Weeps, when he just had people's mouth on the floor, jaws dropping. Yeah, we got to witness it.
Yeah.
Still too soon.
Too soon. But 2007. So February 2007 was the Super Bowl halftime. That was the Super Bowl halftime.
Yeah.
So yeah, you think that's well after this period of time. This is 20 years after Raspberry Beret.
So until next time, Guys, keep your lamplight trimmed and burning.
I think you know what I'm going to say, but just in case you don't, keep jamming.